to.
All right, before I call this meeting to order, I'd like to share a little information that's been out on me that I've moved all my grandkids to North Sunflower Academy. That is a mistake. My daughter moved her son to North Sunflower Academy, and now I have one at Parks and one will be in K-5 somewhere in the district next year. I just want to clear that information up because I've heard from several people on Facebook and everywhere. And I just want to clear that up. Thank you. Now, board meeting. We got all the board members here present, and I want to welcome all the students, faculty, administration, and the papers that are here. We're going to start with the pledge of allegiance and invocation. Please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stand. Dear Heavenly Father, thanks for this beautiful day, and thanks to those that are here. May they represent our district, and may we go forward, making wise decisions for our district. And just thank you for the grace and mercy you show us each day, and be with our students and teachers to keep them safe. In our name we pray. Amen. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? So moved. Can I get a second?
Okay.
Been moved, seconded, to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, we'll call for participation. Who we got?
We've got the list, and I wanted to go over something real quick before we begin. This is policy BCBI, public participation at board meetings, which is the public comment section. 3 minutes per individual or group. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. So the way I'll do that is time you, give you 2:45, and then I'll give you a hand wave or something like that, and then cut you off at 3 minutes. This is where everybody gets to speak. According to the policy, it is limited to the first 5 people who have signed up on this sheet. So I will go in order from top to bottom for the first 5. So your first person to be speaking is, and forgive me if I don't read these properly, Gary Hayes Jr. Mr. Hayes, please begin. I'll give you a hand wave at 2:45. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. And the past couple weeks, I've had the opportunity to speak with between 75 and 100 different stakeholders throughout Cleveland, specifically in District 2. And a common theme that I saw with each of these conversations is many of the people that I talked to had concern about a lack of responsibility being taken by our leadership. Many of them said, I don't mind that our leadership isn't perfect, but I feel like no one takes responsibility for our shortcomings. An example of this is, the most obvious and recent one, is the air conditioner crisis we had last month. And don't get us wrong, it absolutely was a crisis. I applaud those who took the quick steps to remedy that. It was remedied to my knowledge, or we're still in the process of that. The problem is that on June 14, 2021, Dr. Belcher explained that with our ESSER 2 funds, that we got $5.2 million, and we're going to use $4.4 million of that to replace our air conditioners. And in his words, if you can find this on the YouTube page at 9:42, even if it's running, if it's old and outdated, we're going to replace it. Now, I think everybody's understanding of supply issues and that kind of thing, and you can't get a project that big replaced that fast. But we were aware that many of our air conditioners were old and outdated. They needed maintenance. They needed to be maintained. Dr. Belcher said in last month's meeting that all of a sudden, a bunch of air conditioners went out. Air conditioners don't usually go out all of a sudden. That many don't go out all of a sudden. They show signs of wear. They show signs of breaking down over time. I feel, and many people feel, if there was maintenance along the way, if somebody had been monitoring and checking them out, then there would have been some kind of idea that we were going to have a problem soon, particularly right when school was about to start. I think it's indicative of what we see in our leadership often. in Cleveland School District, that we react instead of being proactive. One parent said it this way. He said that in every problem we have, we're reactive to it. We never look for the problem ahead of time and are proactive about it. We react by waiting for the problem to happen, and then we find someone or something to blame. In the past 2 or 3 years, every time something came up, whether it was teachers leaving, whether it was a school lunch problem, whether it's our air conditioners breaking, there was always someone else's fault. No one was willing to step up and say, I made a mistake, I fell short, this is how I plan to fix it. Right now in our district, there's a lot of unease, there's a lot of mistrust, and there's a lot of division. And I believe, as Julie Campbell said, Remember the Titans, those attitudes that we have, attitude reflects leadership. Thank you for what you do for our students. Thank you for letting me speak tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 2 on the list, Dr. Todd Davis.
Can Claire go before me? Because we were expected to be on the agenda and we're not, so we're gonna have an order. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Thank you.
That's fine.
Ready?
Claire.
Okay. My name is Claire Moore, and I have 2 students at Bell Academy, and we are here to talk to you about the school garden program. It's a very positive thing that's happening in the district right now, and we want everyone to be aware of it and how we can keep it going, because it is something that is a really good thing that's coming out of the Cleveland School District right now. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history. So in 2016, I was in nurse practitioner school here at Delta State. And I was also doing my 200-hour yoga teacher training, where I met Sunny Young, and she was the co-lead of the Farm to School Network. Farm to School is a nationwide program where they start school gardens all over the country. So through that, I learned about school gardens and the health impact it has. Being in healthcare, that was my #1 thing. It's like, why did I move back from Colorado to the Mississippi Delta? And when I learned about the school gardens, like, that's it. That's it. So school gardens really impact the health of the students, and then the students take it home to their families, and research shows it can even increase the health of the home. So when I started digging more into school gardens, I saw that it is also incorporated into the curriculum. So you do standards with math and science and all the different aspects that aren't my specialty. I'm more of the nutrition side. But with our food corps service members, she can work with the teachers and follow the curriculum in and out of the classroom. So in 2000, I can't get the year right now because I'm in a rush. But when I got to Bell Academy, I got a $500 grant from Farm to School. We built raised beds, a lot of hard work, and we saw what it was doing with the students, and the teachers loved it. So we went bigger, and we went with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we got a $113,000 grant, which allowed us to get a greenhouse with hydroponic capabilities, aeroponics with the tower gardens throughout the school. We have 17 raised beds and an outdoor classroom. So the kids are in and out of the classroom doing math, science, reading. Because with that grant as well, we also got 1-year stipend for a food corps service member. And that service member does the education side of it, and she also works in the garden to keep it maintained. I still do a lot of volunteer work out there, but the structure is now built, so we can develop this even more. And when I say I've seen a lot of school gardens, this program is amazing. And I would love for everyone to be able to come out and see it. If you ever want to, I would take you around and show you. And we even have a video with some students' interviews, and we have students here today that would love to talk to you about the garden.
Should we make 3 minutes?
Mayor, you're only 15
I thought I only had
seconds.
2, so I've
We can bank those minutes, right?
Can we ask the kids questions?
By all means.
Can y'all come up? Does?
We'll be
Zoe?
Excuse me.
And I'll just ask the question, and anybody that wants to answer it can. We know that you like the garden, because when I talked to kids last week, that's one thing that they said, they love going out there. what is the most important thing that you get when you go to the garden? Put aside that it's really pretty and colorful. What do you get from it that you can take back to your classroom and utilize in your classroom, in your lessons? Yes, sir.
Well, this is kind of something that has kind of teach me to believe in stuff. But I remember when it first started and I was helping and planning and shoveling mulch, but it's fun to see that a bunch of kids and me have learned that nature can provide us very with wealth, and it's also very really nice to see that that if you put in the work and time that it can actually turn out.
Yes, sir.
We can, like, the more times that we get in the stuff, the more we can memorize in the brain, so we can, like, the more grades we go up, there'll be some more harder stuff, so we can, like, there'll be some more obstacles that we have to go through, and then we'll be able to enter them, and then we won't have to talk to them.
I love that answer. Yes, ma'am.
We'll do passages, we might convert recipes, that's with math and reading, and then of course with science, with biology. It really has it all, to be honest.
Okay. I like that. What about you?
We use different measurements for gardening, like measuring how deep or how to plant things, so we really use numbers. And we, like Nina said, we also have reading passages, so that helps with reading, to help our vocabulary with studying passages.
We're gonna go ahead and do the subject.
Yes. Now, what about you, little one?
We just like to eat out there.
You like it. We appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Please taste watermelon.
Did you taste the zucchini?
Yeah.
Was it good? Thank y'all for sharing. That means so much.
Dr. Davis, number 3.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate y'all letting us be here. You can see it's pretty important for our kids. One of the things too, Mr. Brendel was gonna be here and speak, but he's still on the road. Did you wanna take his spot? Okay. Ms. LaKenya, is it okay if Ms. LaKenya Evans, who is our secretary, speaks on just behalf of his position? He was number 3 on the list. Sure. Thank you, sir. Look, I mean, I'm here just to sort of talk about the potential that we have and the needs of the garden. Like Ms. Claire Moore talked about, and I did want to thank Dr. Carnelli and Ms. Holmes, and I know Ms. Houser, you were going to try to make it out there to visit, but you've been out there, so you know how good it is. But I do want to appreciate those that can make it, to see it sort of in action with the kids and the work they've done. The history has talked about with Claire is that food court position, we run out of that funding and we run out of that position this year. When the grant was written several years ago, prior to this administration, there was language in the narrative about the school district supporting that garden program because X amount of dollars have come into your district to build the structural part, right? But what we're asking for is, we're asking for some of that commitment now for the position part. That's the key. If we don't have the position, or if we don't have a person out there, the garden will fail. And we've seen gardens fail at different school districts across this delta that started those Mississippi Grow programs, but they also did not fund a position. And the gardens are no longer being used. If you want to see one, you can go right down 61 and look on the right and see the schools that have the gardens where the weeds are growing up. And I think for me or for us, it's a school district, that would be a huge disservice to our children also, but also to the obligation that we made with Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation in Mississippi that gave us upwards of $150,000. Their expectation was that they would help us get to a point, and then we would help ourselves continue that. Some of the kids that we're talking to you tonight, I mean, they're in middle school now, and they come back and they participate in the garden events. We are visible down at the farmers markets. with our bell spout program, you have no limits of volunteer. That's not your limits. I mean, as you can see, you have hundreds of people that will volunteer and be a part of the garden. But what we're asking you to consider for us is a commitment from your district to help fund the position. It's just that simple. Without the position, the garden will fail. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Number 4 on the list is Kiera. LaKenya, I'm sorry.
Good evening, everyone. I'll be very brief. I serve as the treasurer for the booster, and just as a parent, to hear my boys come home and talk about the excitement of going to the garden and planting fruit, vegetables, and being able to eat those things in the Mississippi Delta, where heart disease is a problem, where healthcare is a problem. I see it a win-win that my children are able to go to school and learn about the importance of eating healthy, learning new recipes, and doing those type of things that they can actually apply in their everyday lives as they grow up. I'm just excited about that, and I was just pleased to this board, to this superintendent, that you would take that into consideration. This is the Mississippi Delta where we are frowned upon for our health. We're struggling. And so if we have an opportunity to continue something that's already going great, I think it would be best interest of our children, if we're here for the children, to make that decision. And so I just plead with you on behalf of the parents to consider that and stop by the garden. I was able to go by I was totally impressed with what the children have done. I mean, I saw zucchini and tomato and all kind of things that it was so much, and I didn't realize that it was that much out there for our children. And so I just want to say thank you, Ms. Claire. You all are doing an excellent job, and thank you all in advance for supporting the garden project.
Number 5 speakers, forgive me if I read this wrong, Mr. Ron.
You know, every little bit helps. So, you know, I'm proud of the garden. But my main thing is getting these children education. That's my main focus. I won't be coming here every, anymore simply because, y'all spread it out here and then everybody over here kind of, I'm sure if y'all could have moved in a little better, we still have COVID. But at the same time, that's the only reason why. That, I won't attend again. But I made that decision on the behalf of these children. I won't be coming in here and speaking on what I want to see and then not pushing it. So what I'm gonna be doing is pushing what I want to see for these children. And that's a good education and people doing what they need to do to give them a good education. Can I ask you a question? I mean, your secretary asked me not to bring, that's your choice or the board? Your secretary told me not to bring those flyers. That's your choice or the board choice? The flyers that I was dropping on. Or you don't know anything about it?
I know about the flyers, but
It wasn't your
the same
choice?
flyers every time.
No, and it would be a different one every time. Well, I'm just asking, that's your choice? That's okay. The reason why I dropped those flyers off is to give you an outlook of how the outside world. You told me that when people come to you, they act heretical and talk crazy. Well, and you said I was the only one talk like I got some. I shouldn't be repeating what I see, but I apologize for that. But at the same time, it needs to be said what I'm going to say. I know what's on the outside, and I'm looking out for the board in your best interest. And by you reading those flyers, you can see what's going on the outside. But if you choose not to read them, that's on you, and that's fine. But at the same time, board, I'm gonna hold you all accountable on this date. From this date, last year, I saw 3 incidents that I didn't like. One, over at the Kennebec, whatever that school over here. Money this stack this tall to show me whatever was going on in this school district. That, you know, out there counting money in front of me. Second, I came to, he wasn't there, and she wasn't there. But I came to this office, and it was a high school girl sitting in that front room. And I asked her, she said, no, I'm no student, but I ignored it. I knew she was a student. Third, that middle school is a joke. And it's gonna be okay, but I'm gonna hold you, board members, accountable that you all fix this school. I'm not coming back in here every week talking and asking you and ripping and running and whatever the case may be. I'm gonna see to it that his children get an education. I'm gonna see to it that, and this man here talking about the air conditioning, I'm
Mr. Wright, I gotta cut you off, I'm sorry.
That's right.
On our policy. That is the first 5 on the public comments. Dr. Shepherd, you'll be first up at the October board meeting.
All right, that's public comment.
Move the policy, that's it.
All right. We'll start with the cabinet update.
Well, good afternoon, evening. We're gonna start off with the superintendent's cabinet update. We always start with our vision, our mission, our values, and our 7 fundamentals of WUFAC, and our 4 goals with student achievement, positive culture, community engagement, and employee retention. We'll start off with school tours. This month was the first for school tours with the board. We went to parks in Naylor, toured around the schools today, and we do this every time we have a board meeting. We do it in the AM, try to get it in and try to go on, and let the board members get a chance to see stuff in the schools. We also had a data presentation for the board, which was pretty good. A lot of information from 2 schools presented, and I presented some overall data that will be released on September 29th from the Mississippi State board. Enrollment after our 10-day drop, which is very important. Our enrollment after 10-day drop is 2874. It's always good to get a number after Labor Day, and then you have your 10-day drop. So that is a pretty good number to be solid with. If you remember the number before, it was higher than that. I think it was 90 or 92 children higher than what that is right there.
Can I ask questions now?
Yeah, actually.
Okay. Make sure I'm doing it right. Do you know where those children went?
They never came to school. We don't know.
The children that just,
They didn't come the first 10 days of school. They
okay,
registered. They're all in the system to come to school, but they never came to school.
okay, so that rule from a long time ago that you didn't count children present until they came, you didn't count them until they came to school, that's no more?
Not that I can remember. Let me double check with Ms. Skinner.
Okay, back in the day, you couldn't count 25 kids just because they were, here last year. You had to count whatever showed up.
Okay.
That's right. You're right.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's right.
That will be October, or
No.
September 29th,
No.
which will actually count.
That's what we're
It's
getting
here
paid on.
that day.
Well, I know that, but if there are 90 children that never showed up, they never should have been in the count to begin with.
Can I say?
So, like, we have several that register in the summer. They register, they just don't ever come. It's like they register and then decide to go to school somewhere else. So they're in the number, but they don't actually show up at my school.
But I don't think they're supposed to be in the number until they actually show up. That's what I'm asking if things have changed, because I've been gone for a good while.
And the number that we,
If they register, do you have to plan for them?
They're in Sam's. Once they're in Sam's, that's where that number comes from. So there's no way for them to know who has actually
We've got
showed up yet
300 kids
until the 10-day drop.
that have left. Since the pandemic started, district-wide, we have 300 kids.
it's less than that now with this new number, but yeah, we could say 300.
That we don't know where they've been. They could have moved to Chicago or wherever, but if that school district doesn't contact us,
And we got an idea with some of them, the Coast, Memphis, DeSoto.
Okay, so that's misleading then, if you are just, and I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, or anybody's doing anything wrong or bad, but if you're just basing it on registration, then that,
That's just for the first month.
Right.
And you can't drop them until after so many days.
Can't drop it for
So
days.
you have to consider them being here until that
so that's
days.
something new.
I don't know if it's new or not, but I know you paid on in September and October. That's what,
For last year,
for last
yeah.
month. And then you paid
Right.
this year, and next
We
year,
went from like
or
4,000.
September.
Right, I know that. I was just confused because that's not how we did it. And I was wanting to know if the process changed. We didn't have
they'll get
Sam's.
an answer for you.
Yeah. What?
They'll get an answer.
I think I got it.
But I'll double check with Miss Skinner tomorrow.
We had progress reports go out last week. Some people had open houses, had some good turnouts. We had administrative meetings started last week. We got another one after today. We always have our principals meeting the day after the board meeting, and we had some other meetings too. We do an intervention meeting with teachers. We do all kinds of other meetings. We do a leadership academy as well with the people that are interested in administration. Instructional design. So we started our first one for this year because we're trying to do instructional design, understanding by design next year. So it's a whole year of training about it with teachers and administrators. The administrators selected to do instructional design, understanding by design, but we have to pick some type of instructional design model. Facility upgrades meeting, myself and Mr. Johnson, we have met with two companies last week about some different facility upgrades and some different facility options. We also met with this other group to talk about different ways to build schools and to give money. So we're in phase one of that, trying to get into phase two to see how they can help us and to go about doing that. So that was a pretty good meeting too. HVAC update. We got, as the board saw today, it's moved around the school. We went to Naylor, and they have, they're almost finished with their units that's on the ground, just not getting the units that's on top of the building. The units on top of the building, they're not coming in. Can't find them, but the ones that are on the ground, they can find those. So they're almost wrapped up with Naylor with the ones on the ground. Still have Hayes Cooper, the one in the cafeteria, which is on top of the building, still have that one left to do when it comes in. And then the next school they move on to is Vail. Business department.
Right. Good evening. I'm here to give you the July bank balances. And as you see in your report, the rest of the reports will not be available until we further discuss of the next special town board meeting. But for your July bank statements, as of July 31st, 2022, cash on hand for district maintenance was a little over 18.8 million. Payroll had a little over 639,000. Accounts payable had a little over 43,000, and food service had a little over 1.5 million. And the fund balances in statement of revenues and expenses are not available because I am finalizing closing out the books, and those numbers will be updated and presented to you at the next agreed upon board meeting.
Oh, do we need to try to set that?
It's one of
CSD?
those items.
Okay, never mind.
the superintendent's report.
On our maintenance report, Dr. Harrington, we, they've done a little work on Bell's Road down there. They work about the grass and stuff at east side and the junior high school, they getting it cut and cleaned up over there.
Well, we have a new company in place now, Mr. Hochet. We started last week, on high school, middle school, central office. We also be doing parks. We've been working with, athletic department to try to get the middle school straightened out, see, about keeping the lawnmowers going. They say they still have problems with the lawnmower. So I did inform Coach Fletcher about it.
No, okay. All right, David.
When I was at Bell on Friday, I noticed that Coach Acock was out cutting grass on a lawnmower. So I asked, what's going on over there? There's a fence on the west side of Bell, but it doesn't mark the end of the school property. And she was out there cutting that grass. Shouldn't that be something that the district would cut?
Yes.
I think they don't know about
Bell's
it.
not one of the ones.
The district.
It is?
That's one we
The
have.
district.
One you do?
And so I don't think they know. It's over by Garden.
That grass was so high, and those children out there in those gardens, it could be dangerous. Snakes, it could be really dangerous. That grass was really, really high.
And it probably wouldn't.
I really thought she needed a bush hog before she got out like that with a lawnmower. It was just that high.
It wouldn't take but a few minutes.
Any more on the superintendent report?
That's all I got.
Update? That it?
That's it?
I just have a question before we move on. I don't know if this would be maintenance or superintendent, the bleachers at the middle school, I noticed they are gone. What are our plans?
We're gonna temporarily place, I think, the baseball bleachers here temporarily. We have to get a concrete slab poured, and we have to wear new bleachers, but they won't sell them to us until the concrete slab is poured. So as soon as the person is disposing of them, we should have it cleaned up this week, and we have the estimate, we have concrete slab poured to put these bleachers here.
That's on the football field?
Yes.
On the visitor or home?
The visitor.
That's been needed.
I know they were old, but I was just wondering what the plan for the place was.
We're already, got that.
They're gonna be new bleachers?
Yes.
All right, if nothing else on the cabinet update, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Get a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, approve consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda as presented. Unless someone got a question.
I do have.
All right, can I get a second?
Are those all the things that we're gonna, that say approved, such and such, approved? And there's a whole list of things
Get about 30 of them.
Consent agenda means that everybody's at agreement with
to approve all of it?
it.
Yeah.
We got a motion and a second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
No, I voted yes.
All right, pass 3-2.
voted no. Just you and me?
Yeah, we're on the consent agenda.
There's all the approval?
On donations and stuff like that. This passed. Yeah.
That's fine, I wanna make sure that I'm in the right place. What are we looking for it?
The one with the, conferences in it, request for fundraising,
Fundraising, football, basketball,
request to approve donations, request.
selling candy, that kind of stuff.
Just go on, if it was approved, go on and I'll find what I need.
All right. Moving right along, set date and time next regular board meeting for Monday, October 10th. 6 p.m. Everybody still good with Monday at 6? All right, gonna do a motion to that effect.
I don't know.
The second,
Second.
I've been motioned second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, approve the claims document. Any questions?
You have anything? You can go ahead.
All right.
I don't have it huge. Page 1. It may have changed since I wrote it down. Amazon, bank, flags,
It's on page 2 now.
that's on page 2 now. It hasn't changed.
Okay, the district ordered some new American flags and state flags for all of the schools
Okay. And that's
to
coming
go
out of,
outside in front of the building.
and that's coming out of, district maintenance?
Yes.
All right, and page 4, was page 4, is Atlas. HCC shelter. $3,283.
It's $20.36.
Okay, so in other words, you just have an open PO for that amount, that's what we ran last year. The 3283.
Actually, I think that's the total for everybody other than.
That's the total for the other schools.
For the others.
All right, the way it showed up on that page, I was like, man, it took me right there and eat off. Page 6. Band supplies. I guess my question is I know that's not all they need, because we got OPO $5,400. Are they ordering on time, good to have it as they need?
The 5,400 that you see is for Bailey. The band doesn't have an open PO.
Okay, so they ordered 1926.
Right.
Okay. That's all I got.
All right, Ms. Allen.
Okay, there are several, past 30 days invoices, a lot in July, page 1, page 29, 46, 48, 49. Those were July. We have an April invoice on page 52. Why we just came back?
The ones from July are right at the 45-day mark. That's usually what we have for the statutory. But the ones in April was just about school not turning in an invoice in time. Even with all of our pleadings to make sure that they do get it in, some of them are still lurking at the school, so we still have to pay the vendors once we do get those invoices. We are still trying to enforce the policy to make sure that they are shaking their open POs and giving those invoices to us in a timely manner. It's just about getting it support on the schools.
Okay, page 50.
Are you having your staff call the school and say, we got this open PO, we need it?
Well, we closed the POs out. This particular invoice, the items came in after the PO was closed because she didn't think she was gonna get it back in time. And it did come in, so we went on and paid it, but we didn't use that PO because it was already closed for the year. So we had to go on and pay the invoices that she received late. But the PO was from April, so we referred to that April date because it was part of the original PO.
June 30th, attorney fee, page 53.
Yes, right, and so this was, an actual, when we got it, I did request, Attorney Luciano's office to send me those invoices because on one of the invoices, it did say that it was a past due, but we never received the actual copy of it, so they emailed it, so we've already been in communication for them to email their invoices directly, so we won't lose those invoices in transit if we can get them paid in time.
Page 63, February 28th. Next air.
This is just one of those invoices that did not get paid again, on time from one of the schools.
April 7th, Robertson Electric.
What page is it?
Page 67, $1,123.17.
From April, yes.
Yes.
And this is some of the athletic, invoices that he's just turning in like. Yeah, athletic.
And the other invoices, the schools turned it in like you said.
Most of, yeah, all of these invoices come from school though.
Do they not have a certain amount of time to turn those in?
Yes, they do have a amount of time. The time that we go by is that they have an actual PO. You have to understand that not all persons are actually going through a PO because some of them are going through a requisition process where they have an emergency purchase. So if they have an invoice that we don't know that's actually on a PO to show us that it's a late invoice, we're missing that part of it. So this is when it comes up, when it's time to pay it, when it wasn't attached to a PO, it was attached to a requisition. So that's how we are not following and not seeing when something is late.
It has to have all those pieces.
It has to have all those pieces for us to catch.
Okay, page 73, Sharon Williams, May 23rd.
Page 73. Okay. This is just another maintenance supply PO, from May, and it's just getting to us.
Page 76, February 9th, was that Stephenson fire
Yes.
from February?
That's to the, for the bus shop.
Yep.
And then the waste for April 30th on page 83. Was that school issue too? April 30th, waste from page 83.
I'm here. Okay, well, this is probably something that they order, this is disposal or trash bin, and they may have ordered something and they did not pay that, fee for them to go and pick it up or remove it in time.
Page 84, April 25th, Western Psychological Service.
So go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna ask because I'm just reflecting back in May, March, you all provided us a plan. And we're still here lately.
And honestly, it's just not 100% way to get these bills on time because you do have so many different pieces that have to work. One, they have to go through a PO. 90% of our purchases will go through a PO, but there are some purchases that absolutely will not go through PO and they are requisitions. And when that happens, we do not see that until the invoice comes to the department. And it could be that it's past the 30-day or 4 to 5 day mark. And the second part of it is, if there's a PO and all of the pieces have not come, that PO, at a certain point, we close it out, according to the rules. And if those pieces come after that PO has been closed, then it's still late, but we close the PO, but we still have to pay the invoice for those items that we received.
Right. Does that have an adverse effect on our audit?
Yeah, if you have leaks. If there has a 4 or 5 day schedule.
Well, all our vendors, can we not tell them,
It's not the vendor.
It's not the vendor, it's the vendor.
tell the principal that they know we don't have a 30 days, they pay?
Well, it sounds like it's prop district-wide. It's one or two here, one or two there. It's not the same
It's not.
building over and over.
Right, at some point, every school has been, between all of them, it's their location.
Are you through? I have a question that's about something on page 1.
Okay.
Staff development working lunch for the child nutrition department. I have a problem with that.
Okay, we'll discuss that.
Okay?
So,
I mean, it's gotta be paid, I understand that, but,
so you have a problem with how it was, the cafeteria workers having,
yeah, I mean,
okay,
I
so
never,
then, the board has to,
and,
so let's cut it out.
that's
I
fine with
mean, we
me.
can get away with that.
I mean, I never had the board pay for my staff to have
She
working
took it out of her
lunch.
budget.
Did it come out of her budget?
Yes, it's not food service budget.
She chose to do that out of her budget.
Yes.
So I got no problem with
I don't either.
it. I mean, if we don't wanna have dinner up here, we can get here at 6 and start the meeting.
That'd be fine, I mean, I just think of other ways to use that money.
I do have one more, and it's not pertaining to anything like, but I guess I feel that this is a question that you could probably help me out on, with this Florida tuition.
That's the last one. That's a series of events, of classes that I took to get my professional development for the year. It's just a series of things. It was 4, this was the last one. And I'm glad you asked because with the Leadership Academy, the things that I've learned in that class, I've actually used it in the Leadership Academy. They're actually using the stuff that I learned how to do. And some other stuff that I'm gonna learn this time is going towards the drone class that we're trying to implement for the 22-23 school year with the grant for the innovation. So the more stuff I can know and we can know, the better we can intel to make it happen. So I know all the details to it, instead of just believing what somebody tells me.
My concern with it, that sounds great, but my concern was, rather than it just appearing on the docket, if you could, if going forward, have it as a consent agenda item,
Okay.
all the documentation as to what it is, the same as we do when we do
I got you.
professional development.
I got you.
All right, any more questions on things, Doc? Can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Get a second? Nobody wants to approve same docket.
So your vendors won't get paid.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Approval of FY 2021 audit plan.
Okay, last month you were provided the audit book. We actually briefly, for those who attended the, board work, session, the board retreat, I'm sorry, we did go over these findings briefly, but I wanted to bring it to you formally so that you could, actually have these as an approved item, on the board minutes. But your findings in your audit report are on page 69. You had three. The first one was for athletic gate receipts, and that just had to do with the, transmittal reports that comes from GoFan that shows the beginning ticket number and the ending ticket number and how many were sold. That item was not part of one of the tickets that the, auditor tested. We've already corrected that and making sure that after every gate now and after every game, the schools who sold those tickets are making sure that their documentation from GoFan is printed down and part of their deposit slip. The second finding was a travel. We had a person that got travel expenses, but we could not find a documentation, as to what it was for. One of the ways we've already corrected that, we actually electronically scan all of the travel request files now, and it is a database, backup, so anytime we need to pull any travel forms, we actually have that on our actual database instead of actually in a hard copy filing system. So we should always be able to go back and pull that documentation. And the third one was for findings for purchasing. We had, three items that were, did not have second quotes. One of them was for a lawnmower that was purchased by Athletics, some football supplies by Athletics, and another one for, some equipment reimbursement to the local private school where they did not, provide those second quotes. And, we've already made sure that we corrected that with those two departments.
All right.
I have a question. So on page 72,
The
in the book. So where it says material weaknesses identified, those are those items you just talked about or something different? Material weaknesses under internal control over financial reporting.
I'm showing summary of audit results on page 72.
It's right below 72. It's bolded, Ms. Howard,
Oh,
where
I
it
just
says
have the book, I don't know what you all are looking at.
2021-001.
Okay, that's on page 73.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is part of the 2021, that's part of the first finding. This is a more specific breakdown of what that finding was. We had some expenses that were not approved, that had to do with the purchasing violations, because those expenses were not on the book.
Okay,
And then we did have an employee that was not paid by that amount, so we got her paid correctly. And the number 3 and number 1 are the same items with the 3 violations of the items that were not, with the purchasing, they were not expensive.
Okay, on the federal award, significant deficits identified, deficits identified,
Right.
what are those?
That has to do with the Presbyterian as a purchasing violation, that's the second quote, because those were federal funds that purchased it.
And that was through Presbyterian
Yes.
Day School.
Yes.
But we have to, we provide the title forms for, and they have, they're supposed to follow our procedures.
That's right.
And they did not, and so then we gotta find it.
Yes.
How do we decide what private schools we're on?
They have a rubric that they have to do, they have to give permission, they have to contact all of the private schools in your area, and they have to give you the federal director.
I do.
And he has to get a written consent if they're gonna opt in or opt out.
And then on number 9, it says oddity qualified as a low risk oddity, no, so that means we're qualified as high risk,
That means that we're not a high risk.
but this says low risk and it says no. So the opposite of no is yes.
pretty sure the determination is that if we don't.
Could you get
have-
clarity on that for
I
us?
sure can, I can
Right.
answer.
That's all I have.
All right. Any more questions?
All right. Get approval on all the findings. Get a motion,
Motion.
get a second. Get a motion, a second on all the findings, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I've had approval. Cunningham CPA finished last year audit service.
All right, this is for our current auditor, Joe Cunningham. He has a 3-year contract to perform the audit, and so this one is just giving him permission to complete the FY 22 audit, once the, FIS has been submitted and you approve those final budgets. So this is just his item.
And this is the last year that he can offer us.
Yes, he does 3 consecutive years, by law, you can only use the same audit for 3 consecutive years, then you have to do another one for a gap year.
Another total
Audit.
different
That's
firm.
right.
All
I
right.
make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion, second, to approve Cunningham, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I've had approval for business department to have a special call meeting to present the monthly financials.
All right, this is going back to earlier, I'm requesting a special town board meeting to bring to you the final, amended budget for FY 21-22, and we will have those updated financials for you, for June and July.
We have to do that before the end of this month.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
We can. Look at your calendar.
It does, before we set the time, is that where the public, you have to, the public's there, so we need to make it convenient for the people to be there. This is just us closing out
This
the
is
final,
right,
the final invoices.
budget. And your financial,
Well, then they have,
from last year.
so in other words, we could, it wouldn't be fair to do it at 9 o'clock on Monday morning.
I can't do it.
What about Friday's better for people?
I guess Friday is better for me, 'cause that's my off day.
Or Monday at 6 o'clock, Monday at 5 o'clock,
Board
Tuesday.
always meets Monday 6, put it Monday 6, but I think.
It has to be before September 30th, preferably that same weekend.
So we're at the
How
12.
can you do it at 6?
What day, the 12th, do it the 18th or the 24th?
The 26th, 27th.
31st.
Let's do it. Is it Thursday better for everybody? Well, I'm out of town the next, I just looked, I'm out of town the next.
We're gonna do it on September 31st.
They're gonna be in Hawaii.
All right, can we do it maybe the,
24th.
That's
I
a
can, I'm out
Saturday.
of,
You must be good.
24th,
Friday.
19th.
So we all are in policy.
Huh?
19th is the policy.
Would the 23rd work?
19th is the what?
22nd, 23rd?
What about
19th
September
is what?
26th?
The MSBA policy.
That was just where we are.
I think I'm going.
Yeah.
26th? Oh, 26th.
Oh, I'm going to February.
I can do the 26th. I'll be back, I know I'll be back by that point. All right, so 5 o'clock on the 26th.
Make it call.
Make a motion for the meeting, for the next call, meeting for, budget is, September the 26th, 2022 at 5 p.m.
All right, can I get a second on that? Motion second, 5 o'clock on 26th. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Approve to have OPOs for transportation department.
Make a motion to approve.
You get a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
This is for the month,
That's for for a year, that way they don't have to come in. Your maintenance department right now, we didn't
Aye.
approve the PO. Okay. They're having to get PO every night.
All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. PO for food service.
Didn't that was gonna be my question. Didn't that cover, that motion that we just made and accepted, didn't that cover, did it have in there for the other three departments?
No, we didn't have for this time.
They
Okay.
separated them out.
All right, I got you. I make the motion to approve.
Get a second?
I have a problem with open PO.
I thought we decided last.
No, it's there, but it didn't pass.
That's right. We did not pass open PO. So,
Y'all gotta explain it better than me. Open PO, I
go
ain't,
ahead.
that's no kind of.
Explain the process.
I'll let one of the departments
Yeah,
be
I got
open
open
POs.
POs,
Explain it. Now, Ms. Newsom, do you mind explaining how food service open POs work for food department?
Yes, we do open POs. We do open POs for these companies listed here every month. For instance, repairs on coolers and freezers. We cannot wait on a PO. If a cooler is down, if a freezer is down, we're gonna lose all of our food, thousands of dollars of food. So it's best for us to have an open PO for something like this, so that we can go ahead and call the vendor and they can come on out and fix it for us.
Okay, can we do an open PO for maintenance on equipment?
Yes, these are on the list.
Food?
Maintenance department.
Need that on your check.
They got to have it.
In other words,
No,
Okay.
I know, last month we talked about doing an open PO, and we had a discussion on food.
That's right, and the only thing I recall was Lambert.
read off you this, who you want to have open POs for food.
They've got it, so you still have the amount by each one.
Yes, we do.
They got an amount by each open PO, they can't spend over there. If you read your thing, you got an amount. So it's not an open PO for $2 million, it's an open PO for $2,000.
I asked for understanding, and that's what I want.
Oh, you understand it?
I don't need you fussing, I need you to explain it to me.
As far as the food with Lampert, these are emergency purchases only.
Okay.
This is if we place our order with our main vendor, we get our deliveries Thursdays and Fridays. We don't get something in, we need it for the next week, it's for us to be able to go to Lampert and get it delivered to us that Monday. So that we can, decrease menu changes, menu substitutions, things like that. We have to be able to feed our students. We have to.
Is this the first year for open PO, or we have a living year?
We've been doing this.
Okay,
We've been doing this.
okay. I just want some understanding. I'm new at all this, I just want some understanding, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, can we get a motion on the food service? Did we vote?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Go back, you gotta have the.
I made the motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Adams, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Same thing for the maintenance department.
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Disposal bid for sale of old school buses.
Good evening.
They gotta bring the cash money.
That's it. We're gonna put a bid out to somebody that wanna come and buy them. If not, we just need permission to do what needs to be done to those buses. They need to be removed from the transportation department. We got 22 of them.
If nobody bought, what would you do with it?
Take them to the junkyard and get the
Scrap
money.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who gonna scrap them?
I'm gonna leave it up to Mr. Alexander.
You get that bid.
We need to get, we'll get $10
Thank you, take them across the street, take a place in.
Mr. Alexander. I'm just here because it falls under fixed access.
One time.
One time, we had somebody.
We had an
come in
auction. We had an auction.
Now, if Mr. Alexander would like to do that,
No.
okay, thank you. Thank you so
It
kind.
was not, it did not turn out well.
Okay, I understand.
But we gotta get them off the list.
Yes, sir. It's about 22 of them right
I
now.
make a motion to clean up and disposal and for bid for sale of old school buses.
All those in favor, get a second.
I second it.
Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you all, so kind to me.
Approval for special service to enter in contract agreement with Baylor University.
Yes, sir, I'm speaking on behalf of, the health services. A student speech language pathologist will come in and do their internship with our professional speech language pathologist. So, it's a learning tool for the student internship.
She's coming here.
Yes,
from
sir.
Baylor.
Yes, sir.
Can I get a motion?
Carl, you looked at everything?
Every MOU that's on here for your consideration, I have looked at. Legally speaking, is good. I don't look at the what I would call the merits of, or the
Right.
need. I just look at the legality of it.
I just wanna make sure that
Legal.
Legally, y'all are fine.
I make the motion to approve.
Get a second?
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Approval of special services to enter in contract agreement with the Lions Club.
Yes, the Lions Club has volunteered to come into our school district to help with doing the vision screenings for all the children, at no cost. So this would just be a great asset, for our nurses and just to help as much as possible for our students that need to make sure that, if they don't have any, or if they have deficits in their eyesight, that this can be addressed properly.
All right, can I get a motion to that effect? Get a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. MOU between the Boys Club of Mississippi Delta and the Cleveland School District.
All, everything good?
Yes, sir.
Long time coming?
Yeah.
Got it all worked out?
Yes,
Yeah.
All right.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Approval of CCDTC to enter into a contract agreement with Planet Tots.
The MOU with Tiny Tots is so our early childhood students can go and do their hands-on training in the actual facility where they're getting it and they're getting out to work.
Good. All right, get a motion to that effect?
I get a motion. I second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Approve of dual enrollment, dual credit program, articulation agreement with MDCC and CSD.
The Cleveland Career Development Technology Center students, when they enter into the, having the ability to do the, dual enrollment, dual credit classes with the, community colleges in the area, we must, abide by their articulation agreement, so we can have that signed as well as our community.
All right, get a motion.
Second.
So moved and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Approved for CCDTC to enter in contract agreement with Shaw Family Medical Center.
Again, another MOU, this is for, we had a student working with Shaw Medical, in last, school year, and we'd like to be able to offer another student dedicated to be able to work with their facility as well from our
All right. Can I get a motion? All right, can I get a second?
I second.
The motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Approved for CSD Bell Academy to enter in contract agreement with Food Corp Incorporated.
Food Corps is our garden member. She provides lessons to all of our students in the district. She co-plans with teachers. She's the one that maintains our garden. We pay a supplement to her, which is sponsored by our Bell Booster Club. It's no cost to the district. It's paid directly to Food Corps, and Food Corps actually pays her salary.
All right. What does she do now?
She's the Food Corps member that works within our garden. She teaches lessons to the students. She does all the maintenance of the garden along with our students.
What is the position y'all want to fill? What's she gonna do?
there's no funding for that position in the future. We can only have a food corps member, for 3 years. And so Krista has been our food corps member. This is her final year. We could have another food corps member come in, but having the food corps member, there are none available, through food corps, trying to get someone to come for the small amount of money that she makes. So this would be her last year. So what the booster is looking to do is get a position for the next
So
school
you're
year.
looking for a position for next year? Or
That's separate, that's next school year, but the food corps member, we have her for this year.
You've
And
already got the position this year.
we do, and then on the other part of the agenda, the Booster Club made the donation to actually pay that supplement to, directly to food corps that we do. This is our 3rd year, so we've been doing this for 3 years.
So actually, y'all don't need that position out of this year's budget?
No, sir. No, sir.
So what this is asking us, I'm a little confused.
Okay.
Start over.
Okay, so our food corps member is Krista Davis. Krista works at Bell.
And she was part of the original grant.
She was.
Okay.
And so food corps has been working with us for the past 3 years.
So this is the 3rd year of the program, it runs out this
Yes.
year. We need to fund this going forward,
Potentially, yes, sir.
potentially. All right, so I don't see money attached to this. So
So-
what are we approving tonight?
So the MOU tonight is just the contract between food corps and the school district, just allowing her to come in.
For this year?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Then we can discuss, we got 12 months to figure out. Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's about 7 months.
And then the boosters donation to pay that, for this year was accepted on the consent agenda. So there's money there for this.
All right, so we're just approving this, the end of this grant.
Yes.
You got the same understanding?
All right, all those, can I get a motion? Get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Approval of Magnet School Enrollment Procedures, 23-24.
Was there anything that changed, Renee?
No.
Tiffany?
Nothing.
Y'all
That's
just
all what changed.
put it in the minutes that this is the,
So,
But I think y'all are gonna review it just tonight. I don't think you're gonna approve it.
so we'll table it, review. Okay. Okay. I mean, I remember seeing this through the years, but I don't remember this time of year. But you do y'all's lottery.
applications will go out the end of October, and they'll be available through the end of January, and we'll do the draw the last week of
Right.
January.
And then you get a commitment whether they're coming back for the next year.
Yes, sir.
And that determines how many spots you got.
Yes.
So we're gonna table this.
Be fine with me.
I'll make a motion to table item 20.
20, number 20, table number 20.
Right, for public comment, and everybody can take a look at it.
All right.
Need a second.
Second on 20, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. 20 is tabled. Approval of updated procurement plan for child nutrition.
I don't think that has to be tabled.
Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Get a second? All right, been moved to second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Approve the Mississippi State Department of Health revised MOU.
Y'all approved of this last time, but we used our form. We have a format that we use for our MOU. We sent it to the Mississippi State Department of Health, and they said we have our own form that we use. And I compared the two versions, and they're substantively the same.
Get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
How about a second?
Second.
Been motion and second to approve MOU, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Approval of DSU intern MOU with Hayes Cooper Center.
So,
We get some interns.
Yeah, so this is our teacher intern MOU with Delta State that we have each year. And so we do plan to have one teacher intern at the high school and 11 teacher interns at Hayes Cooper Center.
you say 11?
Yes.
So the have two schools we get in, how do we determine the schools where we're placing interns?
I believe, doesn't it kind of rotate
Yes,
from school to school? It doesn't have anything to do with segregation or
They choose where
race
they
or
go.
anything like that.
to my understanding, Ms. Powers, meet with the principals, and to my understanding, it does.
Yes, thank you.
So last year they were somewhere else,
I
and this
think,
is.
didn't Dale have some last year?
So, when the MOU was originally written, it was for Bell, and then it rotated to Hayes Cooper. But since then, they have written, a plan, and so it should rotate every so often, and you have to meet, certain criteria for that.
Okay.
And so, but it's basically decided by Delta.
Am I understanding that the high school will have one this year? The middle school won't? The elementary school? Am I understanding that?
Well, when I spoke to Ms. Powers, those were the numbers that she gave me.
Huh?
Those were the number of interns that she gave me for the campuses.
That they asked to go to those schools?
I'm not sure if they asked those to, but, when I met with her and we were trying to get the paperwork situated, that's what she reported to me.
And there's certain criteria
Yes.
before they will assign
Okay.
interns in
That's-
specific schools.
That's what I was gonna add. I serve on the Delta State Assessment Committee, and we've talked about that. The actual teaching department, the education department has a set of criteria that the schools have to meet for the interns to come in. But like at my school, I have observers though from different classes in the Delta State Education Department. So they can still come in, they're still coming in and doing other things.
To different schools.
Yeah.
I do as well.
What's, is an intern a student?
It's a student teacher.
Yes, intern and
That's an
student teaching.
intern.
Yes, for the whole semester.
We used to have them at Eastside. Well, what
Okay, so, okay. Debbie, I'm not sure that it was round. I think Sonia Swafford was at Vail when it started. They were trained at Ohio University, and it's after their intern program, which they have pre-interns that come to the school twice a week. Much like, I don't know if when y'all were education majors, you went and observed, but you didn't spend a lot of time in the classroom until you actually were a student teacher. Okay, so you have two things. You have pre-intern and you have a student intern. Okay, student interns are what we call like our student teachers. Pre-interns are like observers, and they do things in the classroom and become acclimated with the school and the policies and procedures. It was modeled after Ohio University, which means those pre-interns that are at that school will stay there and get acclimated with the teacher and everything, and then do their student intern, student teaching as we know. And those schools have to meet certain criteria, such as special needs population, diversity, and they have to have low teacher turnover, and a certain accountability standing.
Okay, so really the ball starts in Delta State's court.
Delta State has to meet this criteria for their program.
So just for the public that's watching and listening,
Yeah.
this doesn't have anything to do with segregation or race. Can
We have a
say
diverse,
we don't know.
We have a diverse student population in Hayes Cooper.
Thank you very much.
It's hard to understand. Hayes Cooper's an A. We need them at an L, and a D. Why can't they go to that?
Exactly. Why?
Why can't?
I don't work for Del State.
That's the Delta State.
That's their thing.
Well,
Either we are or we are.
can we not negotiate with them?
You'll have to
They either do what with us, meet us halfway road?
We could.
Okay, then, cause I just disagree. I think if you're gonna teach, you need a variety of all kind of students. You don't just go to an A school, cause you ain't gonna get no all A students. And Ms. Dale?
Especially when it's 11 to 1. My God.
Man,
Or 4 and 3, or something like that.
All right, this table 23 and 24.
Table 23 and 24.
We Everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
All right, I made the motion, you second.
Second.
On table 23 and 24.
23 and 24. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Approval of external providers, Kids First and Daily Education Group previously approved through RFP to provide services throughout the district, support information, and use HQIM, math, and LA curriculum to students.
Let me read one thing.
That's
This thing you have here says something about some example includes Saturday PD session.
Yes, ma'am, so with our new, it's just an incentive for, teachers to, get the implementation with our new curriculum. We do have a new math and ELA curriculum, so we will need those, external providers to, help us. The curriculum department, we will get together and we did send a survey out to teachers so that they could, have their input as well to see what, topics do they feel they have a weakness in so that we can, make the most out of these sessions.
Okay, so my question is, I know previously we approved using Bailey and Kids First through December. This contract for this, request is through September 2023. So who pays this? Is this district? Who will be responsible for paying?
What we submitted was into December, so
This is
I
for
think that.
December here.
This thing, I'm reading out,
Paid out of HQIM.
Right, yes.
It's paid out of grant. It's paid out of HQIM grant that we want.
So we approve it now and we say in December, don't wanna go with these, programs.
We can change it if we're not getting
But
into
we've already,
it.
we committed, right?
Not,
There
we're committed
are
to
different external
December.
providers that we can select as well, so if we decide in December that we wanna go another route, we do have other options as well. Other external
So
providers.
should that reflect in our contract? Because if you give me a contract and you're saying you agree to pay me through September 2023, that's what I would expect. So should we make?
Yes, it will be reflected to go through December 2022.
Okay, so we need to pay for this. I think.
You got a contract there?
Oh, it's in a.
It's a MOU approval.
She got a print.
Oh, pretty low.
I did.
I just got to say go through December, so we need to table that.
That was number, which one?
25.
You got it, Mr. Bell?
Get motion to approve 25.
Table.
Y'all need to table 25.
Mr. Paulette.
Yes.
She, made the motion, I said.
No, I kept, like I say, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agreement for early learning collaboratives to purchase Vigorous Screening 3 and Curriculum Associates as requested by MDE. Vigorous Screening 3, what is that?
The progress screening is an developmental assessment. That's one of the criterias that all of our 4K students under the early learning grant, it's a developmental screener. All of them have to go through a beginning of the year and end of the year screener. How we've grown, we've just added another site to our collab because our seats have increased from 90 seats to 125. So to not give back money, because if you don't have students in the seat, you gotta get the money back. So to not give the money back, we added Cleveland Center 2. Hopefully we'll get more money, we'll add CL3 and we'll have one collab in Cleveland. So all of the previous classes have had, we've had these development screenings for 4 years. The new classes have nothing, we're sharing. I'm moving stuff from site to site, and Curriculum Associate is the only one that has this screener.
All right, can I get a motion to approve?
I second.
Motion second, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Approve for CSD request RFP for social emotional learning support services for students and personnel.
Yes, good evening, everyone. We're asking for the opportunity to present a proposal to our vendors, to provide social and emotional learning PD for our staff and also support for our students.
You say our vendor, which vendor you talking about?
Whoever presents their proposal.
It's a request for an RFP. It's a request for the bidding process.
Okay, okay.
Get a motion,
I make the motion.
get a second,
Second.
get a motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Move the table and approve test security plan for 22.
I did look at that.
We'll change it to.
Did you see the highlight?
Yeah, I looked at that, yeah, you made some changes.
Let's roll.
Then give me a motion to approve test security plan.
That's a move.
Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have
Y'all
it.
had when I was in.
Approve the personnel agenda.
I didn't have anything.
I had a question. Under numbers 9, 11, 12, 14, 16, and 23. 9, 11, 12, 14, 16, and 23. They have the alphabet, but they do not have a spell. You know how that spells what the salary will
The
be?
number.
Right, okay.
That's because their, references are still pending, their verifications. So I'm still waiting on employment verifications from their prior employees.
So do we need to table those decisions until we know what the salaries will be?
Well, they'll
Or
still
what
be on that
steps they will
step.
be on?
They'll still be on the step,
Which
the
step
salary
those
step.
there?
We can
sorry.
hire them and they will be put on the appropriate step,
What's the appropriate step?
whatever they qualify for.
It's
What's
just
the
their
appropriate
years.
step?
We're waiting to verify the years
Gotta
of
get it verified.
experience. They'll still be on the scale, on that letter grade. It's just we're waiting on
Because we
their,
can't go by what the years they tell us.
We have to
get
verify,
verified
yes.
from Previous districts, they were here 5 years, they were here 4 years. And that would be
I
something.
understand that, but the question is, our pay scale does not go by year, from what my understanding is by step.
It
So
goes
how
by-
will we determine which step they will be on if it's not by year?
it is the most recent pay scale.
You remember we had the meeting?
We had a
And you
meeting.
wanted to do it by
So
the
these
years?
Are by year?
Yeah, you
Yes,
said you
ma'am.
wanted to do it by the years to make it simple. So that's
So
what
we
we
can
do.
approve it, and then they'll fill in the
Fill in where they're qualified.
appropriate step of where they're at on that pay scale, B scale, or A scale. I think all of them on B, but there's a couple on A.
No, so.
It was two Bs and two As.
'Cause I see-
3 Bs, 4 Bs, 4 Bs and 2 As.
So I see like one C-17, so that means
Those years have
there's
been
17
verified.
years of service.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve.
that's it.
All right, make a motion to approve personnel agenda, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Discussion of communication specialist.
All right, this is what you put together for as qualifications of what we'll be looking for, and someone that would be our person, or our personal,
PR.
district communication specialist.
Yeah, I know Dr. Fernelli brought it up last month that you wanted to discuss it and, had a criteria put up. I know the last time we talked with the board about this position, you didn't mind that it was full-time or part-time. So we put it on there because you wanted to discuss it.
I guess my
For
first
next
thing,
year.
I'm sorry, dude, would be we just got the CSD salary scale. Do you know about where that would be at on the scale? Would that be as a department head? Would that be as a, I mean, just
Most likely probably be a coordinator.
in a coordinator's report?
Something Jay.
No.
Well, and it goes by the number of years. So, you know,
Sorry, to 63.
Pretty good to see it.
Yeah.
And if you get a halftime person, you know, you just take the half of whatever that is.
Would there be any way?
Go ahead, George.
Would there be any way that a hire could be made in January? Just say yes or no.
I don't want to say yes or no because I have to wait till after we meet and
We'll give it a time to think about
look
it.
at the budget.
Okay, and discuss it, because I have some specific, well, you know, okay,
Yeah.
you know what
Well,
my
I mean,
reasons are.
they're just asking to advertise for it or start.
Yeah.
And this is what.
It came up as an odd topic.
And
Dr.
this,
Burnell
this is the
discussed.
qualifications that they would be looking for, which I think is a good start. I read through them. And, at will contract.
Hire and fire,
You know, of course, we can set the salary whatever we want to. We don't have to go, you know, and that's just, I just asked him what he thought that would fall.
Depends on experience.
Another question, you mentioned that it might fall under J. So J is over there with like those positions that require 4 to 6.
Jay is under coordinator.
Right.
Now, if you have a better suggestion for us or where you want to categorize it, hey, we're open for that too. Because you can look at the scale and every letter has a name beside it. So if you have a better suggestion than J, just let us know. Because nothing is approved. It doesn't get approved until we bring it back to you, so.
I think we should approve to start looking, and then, like I said, we can always, you know, you may come back and say, hey, look, this is way too high salary, you may come back and say, it's way too low. Yeah, I couldn't get nobody.
So if you get an applicant and you interview them and they ask you what.
Well, I was about to say the same thing you just said. So before we start advertising it, I think it needs to be another conversation. When we come back up in October, November, December or something. So if we're gonna advertise it in January, we need to know, because if I sit you down for an interview, you're gonna wanna know how much money you're gonna get paid.
I will table it next quarter.
It needs to be a range then, because I think it should be commensurate with experience.
What's the range on Jay?
63 through
Starting
84.
out 63
Through 84.
through 84.
Well, you got a pretty good range there.
However,
Where did you get that range?
I saw some hands go up in the audience. I think somebody.
No, if that was your suggestion, start at J.
Yeah, I'm just saying, we just put it right there. If y'all come back and say, like Ms. Allen say, I think you should start at G, we should start them at G. Okay, we can put them at G.
all right, let's take it.
You know what I mean?
You get a motion, take it.
I second that.
Motion, take it. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Policy GCRAA, Fair Labor Standard Policy. Discussion. Surely we have fair labor practices.
You do, but, as with several of our policies that come up along the way, what we do is a yearly or a quarterly, or unfortunately sometimes as things come up, hey, what do you do here? Overtime pay. And if you look at the policies, the policy of the district, the compensation for overtime work will be paid in the form of compensatory time off. Comp time shall be awarded on the basis of 1.5, an employee will not be committed. In the event, blah, 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 in the event the district decides to pay. Surprisingly, this policy doesn't say who makes that decision. So it's one of these where y'all need to look at it.
And this is.
And y'all need to bounce it off amongst each other.
Non-certified personnel.
yeah.
Why can't the fellow that's doing it make the decision whether he wants comp time or pay? And then he'll make the decision.
That could be a possibility. It could be the person requesting, it could be the principal, it could be the teacher, the certified person that requests. It just needs to be announced, it needs to be set out. You know, like you have a weapons policy that says, thou shalt not X. Well, in this policy, it's out there that it can happen.
Who approves overtime?
There's your question. According to your policy, it's not clear. So the policymakers
Right.
need to hurry up and say, this is what we think. Or decide one way or the other.
So we need to rewrite the policy.
That policy needs to be evaluated and cleared up as to who makes that call.
What do y'all, I think
If the building principal,
You're obviously gonna table it, but eventually what's gonna happen is y'all are gonna need to figure out which way this goes.
let's take,
A teacher decides, of the requester party, the principal, the administrator, the business partner, y'all, somebody needs to be, it needs to be clarified.
so as of now, who decides, who approves? I know it's not in policy.
Historically, I think it has been, comp time has been given.
That's not clear here. Who approves overtime? Like, I can't just decide I'm gonna stay at work until 5 o'clock if I'm getting off at 3:30. So who approves me to do that?
And I'll give you an example. Friday evening, we had a pipe bust at, Pyramid.
Right.
All right, we need custodians there. We approved it because we needed that to happen.
But
So,
that was upon the building
yeah,
person's request.
the principal
Okay.
called
That
and
was
said,
my question.
okay.
And what did y'all agree to pay the person who made overtime?
I don't know, sometimes.
Well, at this time, it's comp time.
Oh, Lord.
So that's another thing for y'all to decide too, because, it gets kind of hairy. When you read through, especially the highlighted portion of it, you'll say, oh, we gotta make a decision. Because it's not clear.
Again, one of the tables, or we already done that? Good. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? I get a motion to consider executive session.
So moved.
Get a second? Second. Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, get a motion for stated reasons, student misconduct, student remission, illegal matters, school board legislative survey, and policies. And can I get a motion to go into executive on those stated reasons? All right, motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
We'll take a 5-minute break.
Thank y'all for coming. All